So a client having stepped out of corporate, walking into building his own business and sitting with working 24/7, feeling on the verge of burnout, overwhelm, lack of clarity, really wanting to find his feet and growing his business to be successful, and grappling with the everyday struggles of tough economy. How do we grow this business? How do I overcome my daily challenges?
Welcome to Meet My Business, the podcast where real businesses tell their real stories. Trish Ford from Step Transformation joins me in studio today. Tell me who you are as a person. Who is Trish?
A couple of years ago, I would have answered that question a little differently to the way I'd answer it now. So, yes, I'm the managing director of Step Transformation, but I'm a human being who's passionate about people, growth, overcoming what hinders us in our thoughts, beliefs, even identity, and absolutely passionate about transformation. I'm a wife. I'm a mother with a blended family of 6 children, 3 grandchildren. I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. Somebody who's passionate about leading by example. So when I hold the space for leadership, for me it's about starting with how I show up in my everyday. And that comes to my inner world well-being, being intentional, knowing what's important to me, living in balance. I have a master's in psychology and 2 international certifications as a coach. And I'm a professionally certified coach, credentialed by the International Coaching Federation. But I'm so much more. So passionate about living every day to the full, which is really the space that my clients arrive at when they leave their journeys. I'd like to say that I start my everyday with physical well-being, to set myself up, because it's important with connecting with our bodies that I'm able to show up being resilient, having tenacity, perseverance, being self-aware. Probably one of my greatest sporting accomplishments is having represented South Africa in triathlon at the Commonwealth Games, as a guide to the first visually impaired lady to represent South Africa in 2022. And it's so ironic how that is the space that I hold as a guide for people who don't yet see and really want to see their fullest selves.
So Trish, tell me, what does a typical day look like for you?
So a typical day starts between 4 and 4:15. Rolling out of bed with my best friend and my husband and my now business partner, and climbing onto a bicycle. And so starting the day rooted in getting the heart and the lungs pumping. And in that hour and a half, combining it with some spiritual growth, listening to spiritual podcasts to set myself up to be grounded for the day, and with the energy that I need to show up in my day to my clients. And then it's spending time eating breakfast together, and then kicking off a day that's already planned, where a lot of the day is spent holding the space for my clients. What does that look like? It's that client who comes into a session of 60 minutes that's pre-planned, because they're the clients that I see every second week in that particular time slot for whatever it is that they're working on, be it professional goals, personal goals, leadership goals, to move in holding a space for them as an accountability partner, as an equal partner, and also in checking in on how they're progressing towards those goals that they want out of a transformation journey.
How did you get into this? Was it something you planned, or did you just sort of zhuzh into it?
Life takes us on many journeys. And 30 years ago, when I studied psychology, the passion was behavior change and living more fully, enhanced functioning, be it in communication with teams, in families, with people. But I chose to pursue a master's in research psychology because I actually didn't want to sit and listen to people all day, which is ironic because that's exactly what I do. But I didn't want to sit with therapy, sitting in today and yesterday. So I landed up in the corporate space and spent 2 decades in corporate, first with strategy development and immersing myself in the space of being a monitoring and evaluation expert. So I've worked with corporates, with donors across the globe, with the public sector, building strategy in terms of skills development. My passion truly is growing people and helping them to grow their business. And somewhere along the way, working across sectors, I noticed that the same themes keep coming up. And of course, today I realize that the theme is we dealing with the human and the human ecosystem. And so as humans, we grapple with the same challenges in terms of stress and pressure and how we show up and how we move ourselves forward and our teams forward. I had been missing something in my whole career. And that missing something was working more deeply with people. So I said, well, let's pull together a pilot. And because I've done a lot of mentoring, let's hold that space. And I realized 2 to 3 months into holding a space with business owners that the majority of the work was inner world, self-doubt, hindering beliefs, even identity, at the level of identity. And I realized there's something deeper here to just guiding. I'd like to call it the consultant's hat. There's something so much deeper to holding a space, to allowing an individual, a leader, a business owner, an employee to go deeper within and find and rekindle who they are. And to open the box that they've been keeping closed that actually has been holding them back. And to explore this box from different angles.
About the early days of the business, what was the hardest part for you?
The hardest parts may have been finding the first retainer. So once we find financial stability, we're able to also step back and allow ourselves to be more strategic.
And was there ever a moment when you thought, this is not working, this is too hard, I have to give up? And how did you overcome that?
So knowing that life is hard, and I think the sports and the physical exertion and pushing myself beyond myself taught me the discipline, the resilience that I need to show up in my business. It's never too hard. In fact, when Joe Black has a beautiful video that he shares around not wanting to get up in the morning and putting the blanket above his head. It's those days that we need to get out of bed, play that song, even if that song is going out and stepping beyond our comfort zone to connect with a client, to be bold enough and courageous enough to do whatever it is we need to step out in the world to do. It's those days that we feel we learned because maybe we failed, because fail is a first attempt in learning. Or we conquered our fears. We faced everything and rose.
And if you had to give your self-advice, the self that started this business how many years ago, what do you know now that you didn't know then that you would want that Trish to know?
First and foremost, It's pruning the branches in the outer world of whether it's partners or clients, people that you know do not serve you, from discovering your deepest self and living it. And then it's allowing yourself a space. And it's okay to be vulnerable. Having that person who becomes an equal partner with no judgment, who can hold whatever space it is you need to think as a start, to find clarity and direction. Delve deeper so that you find your deepest strength and can show up, firstly to yourself and then to those around you.
And in the process of building your business, what surprised you the most?
That when we can bring complex terminology, leadership models, neuroscience, which is often a buzzword these days, when we speak to the heart and the gut and the intuition of human language, the power of analogies, that brings it alive. Pause. What was the question?
What about building your business surprised you the most?
What comes to me is the people. So as important as people are to making any business a success, I've been pleasantly surprised with how, when we know we're headed in the right direction, and I'll give you an example. A lot of my clients come into journeys not having clear boundaries, and it doesn't serve them. They struggle with trust and not being able to delegate because they don't trust their team. So when we know the values that keep us in flow and in harmony, and we can put boundaries in place, what happens as leaders in business is that often the employees, the team that we work with, the ones that aren't values aligned, they jump off ship. And the ones who are really form part of that crew when I'm a ship captain navigating through the storm. And what surprised me most in business and in the work that we do is that when the ship captain or part of his crew make a choice that they want to grow and they come into a journey, every journey surprises me with the insights that my clients sit with, the lens that they never had before, that they can never unsee again, and that moves them. What I had to learn from taking off my consultant hat to becoming a coach in the true sense of the word, holding a code of ethics and core competencies, is that what I think might be the corner for my client, it's not always their corner. So holding a space for them to discover their direction.
Now, if you were to explain what you do to somebody who has no cooking clue, how will you explain that?
We help people to think better, to handle stress and pressure, to work better with the people who they're working with. No man is an island. And to become that best version of themselves. We're like the car mechanic who checks that the oil is in the engine because the engine needs to change gears and it needs some maintenance in regular intervals.
And who is your ideal client?
The CFO or the CEO or that HR manager, that leader in the organization who's got all the degrees and all the education behind them, and they've worked on strategy and performance, and they're still stuck. There's something missing. They are looking for deeper transformation to be able to show up as a leader who leads their days, their weeks, and leads their teams to create healthy organizations, healthy teams, healthy culture, and teams that perform, but also that show up with healthy families.
So a client comes to you. Explain to me the process, what that process would look like from a client's point of view. What do they do with you? What do they go through?
I'll give an example of somebody who popped me a message a little earlier today, and firstly shared in vulnerability. So with whatever situation that might be, it's booking a call and doing what I like to call a discovery session. Because sometimes we're stuck and we actually don't know what we want. And that's okay, because it's a matter of having a conversation to discover what that is. Some clients come in wanting to step from self-doubt into confidence. And they discover along the way that they're not living in alignment to their values. So a typical journey would look like, let's co-create and craft what your journey is, what you want out of a journey. It could be professional goals, it could be leadership goals, it could be personal goals. And then it could be a 6-session journey or a 12-session journey. It could be, you know what, Trish, I want you to come in and work with me as a leader and my team. So we have some typical exploration sessions that could be finding everything that is important to me and reigniting with that. And we call it a goals wheel. And often my clients will come back a year later and we will check in. So which of these areas in my life have I arrived at and want to be intentional at continuing in? And which do I still need to work on? We do a value session. We do high impact journeys. So I've seen phenomenal progress with organizations who believe in well-being for their employees, and we do 3-session journeys where the employees are really showing up to having discovered what's meaningful to them, but also are showing up with that confidence that they were wanting as they're grooming in their career in that particular department.
It seems that since COVID, everybody's a coach. And we get various kinds of coaches. What makes your coaching different to all the other ways that people are doing it?
So when I do an interactive session, I'll often bring Joe into the room. And Joe is a broomstick. And if you picture Joe, he has a brain that is connected to a heart, that is connected to a gut. So the coaching we do is really grounded. Firstly, I only bring in a team of coaches who are internationally certified. We hold such an important space because we're working with people. And we work with science. So scientific methods and tools and a space that we hold that is grounded to be able to allow an individual to calm themselves, to ignite their thinking selves, to delve deeper into, through provocative questions, evoking the depth within them, to find those insights and that lens that broadens, to allow them to step out of sessions, not only with that insight, but also with having clarity on how to use that new insight to step in as a bigger version of myself, to step into those challenges with new insights and clarity on the next steps.
So, leading on from that, what changes for the client? Not what you do, but how is a client different after they've been through your sessions?
Such a beautiful question. So I'd love to just share with a couple of examples. So what changes for a client is stepping out of a negative mindset that may be holding on to self-doubt, resentment, anger, whatever holds them back. Not believing that they can step into the shoes of that CEO. Any doubt, and moving into having clarity what it looks like to be the leader that they want to be. Being able to move from where they scored themselves a 3 out of 10 yesterday and wanting to be an 8 or a 9 out of 10 because nothing is perfect. And sometimes leaders score themselves there. Being very clear on exactly what that looks like. And then stepping into celebrating arrival. So our coaching journeys hold a space for setting goals and moving towards and arriving at those goals somewhat differently to how as humans normally tackle goals, jumping straight into action.
Tell me about a client that had a massive success, one of your biggest success stories with a client.
I've got so many. Which one do I choose? It's beautiful to see clients who have kindled a relationship of trust in themselves and who are showing up as what we like to call neuro-aligned leaders, that they see themselves as an ongoing success story, because it's never about arrival, it's about setting new goals, that they're able to prioritize themselves, that they're able to direct themselves and their team, that they're able to accept where they're at, and that's okay because they know that this is an ongoing masterpiece. The clients that continue to endure the toughness of the business and the economy, but can say, you know what, Trish, from monopolizing or reaching out to having 100% of the funeral parlors who now support me in my township, and moving to getting more and more corporates as retainers. I think of Eric, the florist, who's part of the end of the story, and how he how his flowers are now in the Slow Lounge at OR Tambo, domestic and international, and that's just one of his corporate clients, and how he's flourished to become not only a business owner, but somebody who's growing his business, who's at a stage of being able to share his blueprints in a second type of business, who's continuously realizing that it's him growing himself, and it's him growing those team members who become the mouths that he feeds as well.
How do and where do people find you online?
Step Transformation, HTTPS.
Boom, boom, boom.
At Step Transformation, we're visible on LinkedIn, Facebook, and social media. And so we hold a space for business and leaders in business to become neuro-aligned, to go on journeys that are deeply transformative, to find themselves in balance and alignment, but also grow thriving teams who believe that there's home away from home, a workplace that they love to be in.
And when somebody gets to your website, what do you want them to do there?
Once they've explored, click on book a session. And so they'll be able to book a session in my diary or my business owner or the other coaches that are on our website to more deeply explore what it is that they're looking for.
And to end off, if you had to give our viewer or our listener one piece of advice to take with them.
If you're feeling burnout or overwhelm, if you're feeling like you're stuck as an organization, that strategy isn't moving down into implementation, and you're looking for a space that is a safe, confidential space in which you can climb into a cocoon, step back, and find the butterfly that you are destined to be, then don't hesitate. Don't wait until you fall off the cliff. Come and talk to us. We're here to support you. And we're here to take you on a journey, not to become a better caterpillar, but become the butterfly that you are destined to be.
Thank you so much. And that is exactly why stories like this need to be told. Thank you so much for being so open about your journey today. If what you heard today resonated with you and you want to find out more about the business we discussed today, every guest we've ever had on Meet My Business, their business name, episode number and direct link lives in one place. Head over to baird.media/meetmybusiness.